Listen to me very carefully, because what I'm about to tell you is the most dangerous truth I've ever uncovered.
You see Elon Musk on your phone every single day. You see him fighting for free speech on X. You see him memeing about DOGE.
And you think, finally, a billionaire on our side. You are being played. The market eagle doesn't look at the tweets, I look at the ledger. In 2024, Elon told the world that America is going bankrupt. He built a bridge of trust with you. But while you were cheering, something else was happening in the shadows. This isn't a success story, it's a case file. Case file 005.
Hidden from the world, visible to the eagle.
To understand 2026, we have to look back at the original sin. Most people think Elon Musk is a self-made genius who risked everything for his dreams, but the truth is buried in government contracts and shadowy alliances.
Let's talk about the year 2010. Tesla was bleeding cash. It was weeks away from total collapse, but then a miracle happened. The U.S. Department of Energy issued a $465 million low-interest loan through the ATVM program. Without your tax dollars, Tesla would be a forgotten name in a scrapyard.
And it wasn't just Tesla. In 2008, SpaceX was on the brink of bankruptcy after 3 failed rocket launches. One more failure and it was over. But then, NASA stepped in with a $1.6 billion contract for cargo resupply. Think about that. The private space revolution was funded by the very government Elon claims is inefficient.
You see, Elon doesn't hate government money. He hates government oversight. He uses public funds to build private empires. Since 2015, his companies have received over $17 billion in federal awards. This isn't just business, it's a subsidized monopoly.
But where did this influence come from? Meet the PayPal Mafia, a group of tech elites like Peter Thiel, Reid Hoffman, and David Sachs. They didn't just build a payment app, they built a network of power that now controls Silicon Valley and the White House. Peter Thiel, the man who funded Palantir, the world's most powerful surveillance AI. David Sachs, the new AI and crypto czar. These aren't just Elon's friends. They are the architects of a new digital order, and Elon is their frontman.
While the media focuses on Elon's memes, his Starshield program is quietly building a spy satellite network for the National Reconnaissance Office, a $1.8 billion classified contract to put hundreds of eyes in the sky, watching everything, everywhere, all the time. He tells you Starlink is for connecting the world, but for the Pentagon, it's a proliferated warfighter space architecture. It's a weapon of global surveillance, funded by the taxpayer and controlled by one man.
Why is this important? Because when one person controls the satellites, the cars, the brain chips, and the money flow, they don't just own a company, they own the system.
This is the reality of Case File 005. The hero we were promised is the very person building the walls of our digital future. But wait, it gets deeper. Let's look at the chip, and the first person to have his brain connected to Elon's servers. Now, let's talk about the part that sounds like science fiction, but is already happening in 2026, the chip. For years, we were told Neuralink was a medical miracle, and in January 2024, we saw the face of that miracle, Nolan Arbaugh, a 29-year-old man paralyzed from the shoulders down. The world cheered as Nolan played chess using only his mind. It was beautiful, it was hopeful. But while the public saw a man regaining his freedom, the market eagle saw a prototype. Nolan was patient one in a trial that had one ultimate goal: high-volume production. Fast forward to January 1st, 2026, Elon Musk makes an announcement that should chill your blood. He posts on X that Neuralink is moving to mass production, not just for the paralyzed, but for the masses. And he's not using human surgeons anymore. He's using robots. Musk's vision for 2026 is an automated surgical procedure where a robot threads 1,024 electrodes into your brain, bypassing the protective dura membrane. He calls it a Fitbit in your skull. But let's look at the logic. If your brain is connected to a server, who owns the data? If your thoughts are translated into digital commands, who has the administrator password to your mind?
While you're processing that, look up, because the cage isn't just inside your head, it's surrounding the entire planet. This is the story of Starshield. You know Starlink for internet, but Starshield is the classified business unit built for the Pentagon and the National Reconnaissance Office, NRO.
In 2021, SpaceX signed a secret $1.8 billion contract.
By May 2024, they started launching the NROL-146 mission. This wasn't for YouTube or gaming. These are hundreds of spy satellites operating as a swarm. Swarm logic allows them to track targets in real time everywhere on Earth simultaneously.
An amateur astronomer recently caught a signal from these satellites. They are emitting on the S-band, a frequency they aren't even authorized to use. Why? Because the swarm is communicating in a way the public isn't supposed to hear. It's a global net. If you have a Tesla on the ground and a Starshield satellite above, there is no place to hide.
Think about the synergy. Tesla collects your location and biometric data through cabin cameras. Neuralink collects your neural impulses, and Starshield provides the real-time uplink to the cloud. This isn't a collection of companies. It's a total surveillance ecosystem.
And who is paying for it? You are, through those billions in contracts we discussed in the last chapter. You are funding the very bars of the digital cage being built around you. But the final piece of the puzzle isn't the hardware. It's the economy. It's the $38 trillion debt. In February 2026, Musk revealed the true purpose of DOGE. He said the only way to solve the debt is to replace the government with AI and robots. Efficiency at the cost of humanity. This is where the hero reveals his true face. This is where Case File 005 gets dark.
Now, let's talk about the X enigma. In 2022, the world thought Elon was crazy for spending $44 billion on a social media site. But look at the 2026 filings. X is no longer a chat room. It is now registered as a money transmitter in all 50 states. By mid-2026, X Money is being pushed as the only platform for real-time, gas-free digital transactions. He didn't buy Twitter to protect free speech. He bought it to own the central bank of the future.
Enter the DOGE coup d'etat. Led by Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, the Department of Government Efficiency sounds like a taxpayer's dream. Who doesn't want to cut waste, but follow the data? In early 2026, the DOGE team gained unprecedented access to the U.S. Treasury's backend. They aren't just cutting paperclips, they are redesigning how money flows from the government to the citizen.
Here is the aha moment. If the government is inefficient, Elon's solution is to move federal functions to the cloud, specifically a cloud infrastructure he controls. By late 2026, discussions began about moving the Social Security Administration's database into an X-verified system. If you want your check, you need a biometric ID on X. This is the digital leash we warned you about. Look at the $38 trillion leverage. The U.S. debt is now a weapon of mass destruction. In 2026, the interest on the debt surpassed the entire defense budget. Musk's public stance? The dollar is toast. His private action? Building the replacement. The X wallet isn't just an option. It's being positioned as the stabilization fund for a post-dollar America.
But wait, it gets darker. Let's talk about data synergy. Google tracks what you search. Meta tracks who you know. But Elon? Elon tracks what you do, Tesla, where you go, Starlink, what you think, Neuralink, and how you pay, X Money. Since 2015, that $17 billion in federal funding wasn't a gift, it was an entry fee to your entire life.
In 2026, Reuters reported a massive data sharing agreement between X and the DOGE committee. Why does a cost-cutting department need your social media data? Because to be efficient, the algorithm needs to predict your needs. If the algorithm predicts you are a financial risk or a political disruptor, your X money can be limited before you even spend a cent.
Think about the PayPal mafia ghost in the machine. Peter Thiel's Palantir is now the primary AI engine for the DOGE audits. They are looking at every single transaction made by every federal employee. Efficiency, or is it the ultimate tool for political liquidation? If you oppose the architect, the AI finds a reason to delete your career.
Let's go back to the $1.8 billion Starshield contract. In 2026, those spy satellites aren't just watching borders. They are now linked to the Tesla FSD network. If a person of interest is driving a Tesla, the car can be remotely disabled or redirected using Starshield's encrypted uplink. There is no manual override for a cloud-controlled vehicle. Your car is now a mobile cell.
Remember the $465 million in 2010? Tesla is now the backbone of the U.S. power grid through megapacks. If Elon controls the energy, the transport, the communication, and the money, what is left for the government to do? The government has been outsourced. We are living in a corporate state, and the CEO is unelected. Elon says he wants to go to Mars to preserve the light of consciousness, but look at the costs. While $38 trillion in debt crushes the American middle class, billions in taxpayer-funded NASA contracts, the $1.6 billion plus lifelines, are being diverted to a Mars colony that has its own set of laws. Laws that don't include your constitutional rights.
Let's analyze the robotic threat. By 2026, the Tesla Optimus Gen 3 is being sold to security firms. These robots are connected to the XAI Grok brain. If a robot makes a mistake, if it glitches like the early Tesla FSD, who is responsible? The software is proprietary. You can't sue the code. You are at the mercy of the architect's update schedule.
This is the enigma. He gives you Starlink in a war zone, Ukraine, to look like a hero. He gives you free speech on X to look like a rebel. But behind the curtain, he is the largest government contractor in history. He is not fighting the system, he is upgrading it into a version you can't escape.
The 2026 economic reset isn't a theory. Look at the BRICS movement and the falling dollar. Musk's X money is being marketed as the global neutral currency. But if it's on his servers, it's not neutral. It's a toll booth on every human interaction.
The Market Eagle has discovered a secret filing from early 2026. SpaceX is building a lunar data center. Why? Because data on Earth is subject to earthly laws. Data on the moon? It's a data haven, the ultimate offshore account for your biometric and financial secrets.
As we approach the end of Case File 005, ask yourself, is the hero we were promised actually the one building the cage? The debt clock is ticking, the satellites are watching, and the robots are waking up. We are moving into the final verdict.
We have reached the end of the ledger. We've seen how the $465 million in 2010 became a $17 billion empire by 2025. But as we stand in late 2026, we are no longer looking at a business empire. We are looking at a biometric operating system for the human race. The architect has finished the blueprint, and the doors are starting to lock. In October 2026, a leaked memo from the DOGE committee suggested a National Efficiency ID. This isn't just a plastic card. It is a digital hash based on your Neuralink signature or your X biometric scan. Without it, you can't access the X Money network. And since the $38 trillion debt has effectively killed the physical dollar, without X Money, you don't exist in the economy.
Think about the liquidation of human rights. If you are on Mars, using a Starship funded by those $1.6 billion NASA contracts, you have zero constitutional protection. Elon's Mars Charter specifies that all disputes are settled by arbitration through the company. He didn't just build a rocket, he built a kingdom where the law is written in code and he owns the source file. What about those of us left on Earth? By December 2026, the Starshield swarm will be fully operational, 1,000 satellites with SAR radar and AI targeting. If the XAI determines your behavior is inefficient for the collective, your Tesla stops, your X wallet freezes, and your Neuralink update is delayed. You are trapped in a cage you cannot see, controlled by a man you thought was your hero.
The risk is not just financial, it is existential. In a late 2025 interview, Elon warned that AI will make human labor optional, but he didn't say what happens to the optional humans. In 2026, as the $38 trillion debt clock stops ticking because the currency has been reset, the value of a human life is being recalculated based on data contribution.
But here is the truth the architect doesn't want you to know. Every cage has a flaw. The weakness of this $17 billion digital fence is sovereignty. They want you to believe the $38 trillion debt is your problem, so you'll accept their digital solution. It's a lie. The debt is their weapon. Your fear is their currency. To escape Case File 005, you must stop looking at the screen and start looking at the infrastructure. Since 2010, they have been building a system that depends on your total participation. But what happens if you choose decentralization? What happens if you opt for physical assets, offline communication, and a mind that refused to be upgraded by a corporate robot? The Market Eagle has tracked the PayPal mafia for years. Their greatest fear is not a government regulator, it is a disconnected population. A population that realizes that the $1.8 billion satellites cannot track what they cannot digitize. Your privacy is not a luxury. In 2026, your privacy is your armor.
As we close this investigation, remember the numbers: $465 million to save Tesla, $1.6 billion to save SpaceX, $1.8 billion for Starshield, and $38 trillion to enslave the future. The data is clear. The hero narrative was the marketing. The control system is the product. Stay sharp, stay sovereign, and never let a billionaire's meme distract you from his ledger.
The investigation into Case File 005 is now complete, but the real story is just beginning. I am the Market Eagle, and I will be watching from the shadows of the code. Case File 005 closed. Subscribe and join the flight. Market Eagle.